So this is Lynn Bracken. She is played by Kim Basinger and is the femme fatale in the film. Her role is a prostitute, so she's one of Piers Pratchett's prostitutes in his company, and she is made to look like Veronica Lake, a famous Hollywood actress. In the film, she falls in love with Bud and they have a relationship together, and because of her situation, the fact that she's a prostitute and sleeps with Ed, it affects her and Bud's relationship and results in a fight between Ed and Bud and friction between those two characters. But luckily, it all ends well in the end. So in this film, they sort of subverted some of the normal iconography you relate with the femme fatale. So you still have the idea of deception, the fact that she is a prostitute, and that theme brings in the use of deception and the idea that she's hiding a true identity behind this look of Veronica Lake. As well as that, they've modernised it, so bringing in the theme of prostitution brings it up to date with current affairs and what's happening in most cities now. Unfortunately, it's a common part of life, and she's not as seductive. Doesn't come across as seductive as a lot of femme fatales do in the old-fashioned films. If you look at her clothing, a lot of the time she's quite covered and conservative in what she wears. She's not showing too much skin or anything like that to suggest she is the femme fatale. She also doesn't come across as very malicious or evil, or in the film she doesn't really do anything that evil that affects the characters. So like in an old film noir, it's normally the female that does something wrong. So if you're looking Double Indemnity, it is the female that does all the bad malicious activity that affects the main protagonist. Whereas in this film she doesn't do anything completely evil or uses her men as in the film, and it's also not the main storyline in the film either, which again shows the settling down of the femme fatale. She's still there's still many traits which tell us that she is a femme fatale, but it's just not the main part of her character. So there's things that she still has that are commonly associated, like a convention of film noir, is the common colour of red. She's always got some sort of red on, so either if that's lipstick or her red nails or something along those lines. So you've still got the connotations of death and evil in her character, so you know she's not completely good in her character. She's also got the famous long blonde curly hair, which a lot of the femme fatales have as part of their appearance. She's also not shown as in control as most femme fatales are. I mean, she's able to manipulate men, and they will give her money to sleep with her, but she's still controlled by other men. So the fact that the Piers Pratchett owns her because she is a prostitute tells us that she's not in complete control of her life, and the fact she's hiding behind another identity again tells us she's not completely stable in her own skin. And also, even in the plot, so the fact that you've got three main men and most of the characters in the film are male, and she is one of the only females in the film, again tells us that they are seen as the inferior gender and not the dominant sex in the film, which again lowers her power over the other characters. Also, the fact that her role is as a prostitute again lowers her class and status. She is not a powerful, high-earning woman, that makes sense, in a high-educated job. She is literally just a prostitute, but it's glamorised in the fact that they're made to look like famous actresses. So men use her and give her reward as money. And this film's a current theme in the film is the fact that money is dominant in most characters' eyes, and that's all they care about. In this film, one thing they've done which has subverted the usual things you'd see in a film noir genre is the use of the three male protagonists instead of the common one that you'd see in old film noirs. This allows us to get detailed characters, get the detail of three men instead of one, and we can see how all their stories link together, including their link to the femme fatale. So this character is Bud White, who is played by Russell Crowe. I'd say he is probably the main police officer in this film, and he's sort of the character that has morals and is the least corrupt out of all three of them, in the sense that he works for good. He has never done anything. He's never done anything really wrong or corrupt within the Force, but he does use violence, normally on the baddies. So he spends most of his time fighting with his morals and the violence and cynical nature, but he's always trying to set out justice. So, like a usual protagonist, he is always dressed in some sort of suit or formal attire, so that he always gives the impression of authority and power. It's normally quite a dark coloured suit he'll wear to reflect his sort of character, and also the idea that he's protecting himself and adding this very hard and dangerous layer that you see on the surface, and we see his true why he's so moral and wants to serve justice when he confesses to Lin and the audience about his childhood and his past. So we do find about detail about this character, and it goes on quite a while, and you get to know him, go into detail, but it takes a while for him to unravel, just like the femme fatale really. By doing it this way, you sort of are interested in the character, you want to see what happened, what he's really about, what's happened to him, and unravelling it slowly sort of again creates enigma codes, which is showing the normal film noir ideas are still in there. So this character is Ed Exley, and he's played by Guy Pearce. He is another main policeman in this film. He is the character that would willingly snitch on another policeman to get where he needs to go, so he's not as nice, and the audience don't warm to him as easily as they did with Bud, as he's still quite corrupt and selfish in the way he goes about things. Like Bud again, he's always dressed in some sort of suit to again show off his authority and power in the role he has. However, he is still manipulated by a lot of the by the femme fatale, and also controlled by a lot of the men in the police force, as they make fun of him and make fun of his hair and his glasses and stuff, which by the end of the film he actually changes his appearance to show the change in his personality and himself. So yeah, like Bud, he's always dressed in a suit, and he's the only one with glasses on to sort of stand out from the rest of the police force and show that he's an important character and a bit different. The glasses normally symbolise the iconography of sort of a nerd, intelligent, sort of someone that they could pick on, sort of going back to a school and being bullied. He's got one of the main roles, and he's given one of the main positions to try and find the criminals behind the whole plot of the film. You see his change in his personality as he develops through the film, and how he starts to realise that you need to work as a team, and he starts to be a bit more stronger and be threatening, and he starts to stand up for himself and fight back. He was, at the beginning, he wouldn't use any force or action like Bud did, but by the end he's right next to Bud with a gun, ready to fight. He's also the person that kills Dudley in the end, the main, the baddie in the film. So it shows his full cycle and the way he's developed as a person, in that he knows right and wrong and who he should kill. He's probably seen as probably one of the most vulnerable police forces, and definitely the most vulnerable main character in the film. Sort of still a child in a way, weak compared to the other characters. He's even weak to Lin, who can manipulate him into sleeping with her. And there's a great shot when Bud goes to fight with him once he finds out that he slept with Lin, where Bud is standing up, and Ed is on the floor with paper in his mouth. I've analysed this image in the other video I've made on my blog already, but it's just great to show the power struggle and the fact that he's always being the victim rather than the one inflicting the pain until the end of the film. This is the third protagonist in the film, Jack. and he's played by Kevin Spacey. He is the character that's sort of the Hollywood image of the police force. He's the one in front of the camera, part of the media publicising the police, and he is seen as the good character in front of the TV, making it look all glamorous, sort of like the Hollywood image. However, he is quite corrupt in himself in what he does, and helps Danny DeVito's character Sid publish scandals of people in the magazine Hush Hush. So it's all sort of out for themselves, very selfish in what he does. It's all just an image and a con, what you see on the TV that he displays. It's not really him. So again, you've got these sort of enigma codes and hidden identity themes from a film noir. The fact that he's hiding his true identity in front of the camera, he's not being himself, and it's sort of the similar in all the characters, they all hide something. So yeah, he's sort of the showbiz policeman. So you've got Bud being the good one that gets stuck in, gets the justice served, even though he has to use violence. Ed's sort of the nervous, vulnerable policeman, but he still gets what he wants, gets up a high ranking in the police force, and does serve justice in the end. And Jack sort of is on the sidelines. He doesn't really get in on any of the action, actually help. He just sort of is in front of the camera, worried more about the media side to it and what the public think, rather than actually serving justice. Again, like the other two characters, the other two protagonists, he is dressed in a suit as usual. Like Bud, he wears darker colours than Ed to sort of show off that he's not as vulnerable as Ed is, and he is very corrupt in what he does, or giving hints to the audience to his true identity and the idea that he's not all that it seems. Again, like another enigma code. There's a great shot that I've analysed in the other video where he is shot by Dudley, and you've got the use of the white shirt he wears with the red blood on it to show the corruption coming through from Dudley to him. The fact that he was always still kind of innocent in his act, he was not completely corrupt as Dudley was. So this is Dudley Smith, who's played by James Cromwell. We don't really find out that much about this character. He's not one of the main focuses, he's not a protagonist in the film. So this sort of creates, again, enigma code. You never really find out his true character and his true self, so that when he is the villain at the end and you find out he is the one behind everything, it's sort of a shock, because he's sort of been in the background. You haven't really heard that much about him, or any given great detail to know that it was him. You also wouldn't expect the guy running the whole police force and all the characters in the film to be the one that is corrupt, and the one being the villain, being the one acting the crime. So sort of, as well as hiding, he's also getting across the messages from the film, the idea that there is corruption and nothing is what it seems, and everyone's quite selfish and out for money and just corrupt. So that's all that he represents really in the film, and it's all again showing two covers. He's good and hides his true identity from all the characters and the audience themselves. So again, we're not really sure what he was all about, why he did it, all that sort of thing. All we know is that he was hiding his true self, which is a common theme in film noirs. So again, he has quite a few of the traditional views, yet normally in film noirs you don't have a male villain. It's normally the femme fatale that's the seductive, manipulative character. And also the big twist, there's normally a twist in a film noir, but it's normally to do with the femme fatale, not someone like Dudley. So again, they are twisting the normal ideas you get in a film noir and making it fit a modern interpretation. Again, he is always in a suit to reflect his role in the film and his job title, and to show again power and authority. He is given so much power, and yet he's twisted and corrupt, so it sort of scares the audience, and it questions what you believe in and what is the true police force like, all from this one character. So yeah, he ends up being the villain, and he's always dressed in quite dark colours, so you've always got the hint there, but you don't realise to the end that they are there. The audience don't realise. So again, enigma codes and lots of twists and turns that you go down, which are all common in film noirs.